And welcome, welcome, welcome once again to another evening with the real deal here. Farah and Deb will be joining us tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about the after effects. After the exorcist is gone, what are you going to see? What's going to happen? And what happens to these families after they've gone through the whole process? And it is a process. We're going to talk about the process and then what happens to these families with at least 4 different case studies tonight so that you can get an idea of the horrors, the struggles, the very real struggles, the prayers, the level of piety, what has to go into helping the person, the family, and everyone else after the exorcist goes. So, don't go away.
Real deals are on the air now.
I like that. I just cut it off. Well, I got started a little bit late anyway, folks. So thank you so much for joining us. Please, if you are new to the channel and you're enjoying the content, give us a like, thumbs up, and click the little bell. Welcome, everyone. It's so good to see the chat full already. Margaret Santo, Tony C, Tony Copianco, you made it. Tony B, and oh my gosh, there's so many people in there. I think I saw Athena, Nikki, Deb Johnson. Yes, my mods are in. Tonight we've got a very, very difficult subject to talk about. Difficult because in practice and prudence, this is not something that we would normally talk about openly with anyone. However, the case studies that we are going to be talking about are either A, public cases, or B, cases that are far removed from actual current diocesan cases. So it's not, nobody's privacy is going to be harmed in any way. Nobody's going to be talked about, and all names have been changed. So, before we start, as always, it's time to say our St. Michael prayer. In nomine Patri, et Filii, et Spiritus Sanctus, sic erat et principio, et nunc et semper et saecula saeculorum. Amen. Sancta Michael Arcangele, defende nos in prelio, contra nequitiam et insidiis diaboli est oppressidium. Imperit illi Deus, supplices de precamur tuque, princeps maletia, celestis satanum, aliosque spiritus malignos, qui ad perditionem animarum pervegantur in mundo divina virtute, in infernum detrude. Amen. Hey, Debba, do I hear ya?
Hello, I'm here.
It's like everybody thinks you live in the Bahamas now. I'm just like so jealous. I want to go with you, you know?
Well, right now I'm still outside.
Oh.
It's windy.
But
it's a warm wind.
I know, isn't that strange? It was so cold earlier, and then all of a sudden it got so warm. I don't know. Everybody in chat, give a shout out. How cold or how hot are you guys? It seems that all over the world, you know, whether you're in Portugal, whether you're in Ireland, the weather is crazy. People have been blogging everywhere that the crazy temps have been so up and down. And this weekend, I don't know about you, Deb, but it is freezing.
And what did I read today? I think it was New Mexico. It was
yes.
In the 70s, and it dropped like 50 degrees, and it's snowing.
Yes. Oh, where I grew up, okay, in the Puget Sound, Spokane, Washington, you got a nice dusting of snow, didn't you, boyos and girlos? It's like, oh my gosh.
Good for them.
I know, isn't that crazy? So tonight, Deb, I mean, this is a topic that's very close to your heart, and because you've been through all of this, I thought this is important to bring up this month especially, and this was a topic that was requested by a seminarian that is studying spiritual warfare, because, you know, encountering people that are requesting exorcism, as you know, it could be a variety of things that are affecting the family and the person, to actually having them go through the exorcism And then after the exorcist leaves, it's such a huge process. I don't think people understand what it takes to survive something like this, Deb.
Well, you know, the possessed person goes through hell, but the family goes through hell.
Oh, yes.
They each have their own problem, what they're going through.
Oh, yes.
And I'll tell you, everybody suffers oppression.
Oh, of course. I look at carrot cake and I'm oppressed.
Yeah.
I want to eat the whole thing now.
And when this is all going on and it's building up, there's a lot of animosity in the house. Everything, it seems like it turns to hatred. So there's a lot of arguing, a lot of fighting, because everybody's tired. They haven't slept. They haven't eaten. And everybody is just like snapdragons.
So everybody is just literally at each other's throats
Oh,
already.
yeah.
And
Definitely.
Deb, I think what we need to address too as we talk about, as we warm up to the topic of how everybody finally gets to the point after the exorcist goes, is to let people in on some of the cultural things that people don't understand. Everybody's idea of deliverance and exorcism is what they get from TV. There is very few people that will encounter somebody that has been through the whole process, and even getting to the office, as you folks were Catholic, that's such a process that it's degrading. It is humiliating. Our culture does not understand people that are... Yes.
Very humiliating. It is.
So...
Because you don't want people to think you're crazy.
Exactly.
And so they have to come out and witness it for themselves.
And that's just it. It's a private thing.
Oh, yeah. Because you didn't want to tell people. But they knew something was going on in the house. Because you could hear it.
Yes.
You know? And when we got the priest out there, and the priest started calling other priests and said, we have to do something here. And then we even had medical doctors come to the house at one point. We had the police department come at one point, to where the police department said, I'm never going back in that house again.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Yeah, because they don't have weapons that will fight it. They just don't.
No. No, when they start seeing things out of the, ordinary that we've never seen before, and all of a sudden they're witnessing this, and they're getting chills up their spine as well.
Yes.
Oh,
goodness.
It's one thing after another.
And that's just it. You actually had to, from having a family member that was being victimized, the whole family became victimized by the public, by your neighbors, by everyone that knew you, looked at you different. And it was almost as if you guys had the plague or something.
That's right. That's right. Even there was a local market. It was like, 2 miles from the house. It was a small little market that my mother traded there every day. Mm-hmm. I would go there too. They knew what was going on.
Wow.
They actually knew what was going on without us telling them, because they heard. And then when it got to the point where David couldn't go to school, and they didn't even want him in school.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. This, Tony was talking about in chat real quick, this begins the complete isolation. And I want to address this about the exorcist later, too, because exorcists and people like me that work in deliverance, people see us and they walk the other way. They're like, oh, yeah, there's that person again, that real weird person. And from your brother being pulled out of school, you guys are further isolated. And how did the church community treat you guys? I mean, not to pick on churches, but they're human.
Yeah, it's like they did try to work with us. I mean, they had prayer teams going.
Yeah.
In the community, they did.
Mm-hmm.
And they even had prayers going at the convent.
Oh.
And, oh, yeah. So we weren't alone spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
As far as getting the help that was needed. Because no one understood it at first. You know?
Well, of course not.
But then finally the nuns were told.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kept these prayer teams going.
Wow.
We had come from all over the world. Once they heard about it, there was even movie stars that came to my parents' house trying to help them.
Really?
With and religion, yeah.
That's kind of wild. Yeah, it's interesting how shall I say, the secular public sees someone's distress. Do you remember that case in Illinois about that boy that was walking up backwards? I think Ryan Buell or something bought his house. You remember that? And people were coming out of the woodwork trying to help.
That was Zach at the house.
Oh, that was Zach Baggins. Okay, whatever. Well, anyway, everybody jumped on board. Everybody had a solution for this family. There were people coming out of the woodwork saying, "Oh, yes," and it ended up having to. Nobody could get that out of there. Nobody could do it except an exorcist.
No.
There's something about the office of exorcism that is so sacred and so holy, kids, that, a lot of times, and even then, before an exorcist can even consider leaving, he has to make sure that everybody in the house is safe. So it's not just the person that may need. Gosh, how many exorcisms did your brother go through, Deb?
Oh, over 6?
Yeah. So it's not as if you can open up the can of tuna and just eat it and then toss the can away. It's a process that is so multifaceted that before the exorcist can leave, he has to completely clean everything and every evil spirit away and out. How did...
it was almost 2 years.
Wow. 2 years?
Yeah. A year and a half, something like that.
Oh, goodness. That's a long time.
It is.
And people don't think that, they think it's just instant. You just, put a quarter in the jukebox and away you go. And that's just not how it happens. Or, their ideas from TV is that, they go at this for 6 months straight every day.
No.
How many exorcists do you and I know that can go at this every single day straight?
They can't do that because it takes a toll on them, on the priests.
Well, and
they get trained, they get physically attacked.
Yes. So
it's not something that they can, go back and do every day until it's done. No,
not at all. And that's something I think that, I don't think we've ever addressed that on a show together, Deb, is the toll.
No, I
don't think we have, because when you look at this very, very holy priest that has been anointed to the office of exorcist, and he is performing a ritual to exorcise demons, and he may get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 20 out, his spirit is so, it's not, I don't want to use the word weakened, because I don't want people to think that he's in a weakened state that the demons can affect him, but he is. He's been drained. He's been completely, he's given all his mental and intellectual faculties to the deliverance of this individual, of this family, that he has poured out every ounce of grace he has been given to where he's drained. He is absolutely drained. And there are some exorcists, like I've heard a couple exorcists say that, there are varying degrees of intensity in exorcisms, that some will be much worse than others. Have you heard that too, Deb?
Yes, I have.
And to where they
Believe me, I have seen the toll it has taken on a priest. And we had a very holy, pious countries.
Mm-hmm.
And they were sending in other ones from the Vatican.
Oh, yeah. Didn't you guys have to go to Canada, too?
Yeah. We had to leave the country to get the, I call it the big kahuna exorcism.
That sounds like, oh my gosh, Deb, that's a Debism. I'm not laughing. Okay,
No.
this is not a funny subject, kids, but this is very serious.
No, but you know what? You can laugh about it.
I know,
Because
you've lived it.
after I worked with Ed Warren for so long, even though we were going through this, Ed would crack jokes.
Yep.
And then, you know me, I have to follow a joke, you know?
Of course.
Because my sense of humor, that's just the way I am.
Exactly.
And Ed says, this is what you have to do. You literally have to laugh.
You do.
Because the devil hates it when you laugh, smile, or if he thinks you're having a good time over what's happening. You know?
Exactly.
We weren't laughing about what was happening to David, but Ed would crack jokes about Satan and his minions. Mm-hmm. It was just things that would happen, you know, in the house and stuff like that. You have to laugh.
That brings up a really good point, that when you allow fear and you allow anger to grow, it attracts more demons. The more you laugh, the more you make fun of their ineptness and point out that their minutes are numbered, their days are numbered, they don't want to stick around for that. They want weak people. And Tony was pointing out a good statistic that Father Ripperger had given in a talk, and this is so true. It used to be, years ago, before the 1900s, that they would do an exorcism in a day, 2 days, sometimes 3 days. And now, he said, I think it was the 1950s or 60s, I think Tony was quoting, that exorcism are taking, 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, 6 years. It's kind of interesting, the multi-layered demonics that are having to be literally exorcised off people. So as the exorcism comes to a close, in some of the cases that I've worked, the people, not always, have signs of departure, such as, your brother was very physically assaulted. He was constantly either shot or punched or kicked, slammed. And from the ones that I've witnessed, the signs of departure have been breath, have been spittle or vomitus, have been a very hard wrenching of the body, and then almost a fainting. Now,
David he went through all that there.
Wow.
And he wasn't we called him the family teddy bear because he was on the chubby side.
Yes.
So he wasn't used to not active in sports and stuff. He played with his construction toys in the dirt.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
And so he was doing movements he's never even done before. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't even think he could bend his body like that. It looked like he was a contortionist.
In other words, he wasn't a gymnast.
Exactly.
He was not one of those, uneven bar kind of guys that could, swing around. Mm-hmm. Oh, goodness gracious, that's so funny. And that's something that people think that before the exorcist goes, there's all these fireworks and everything else, and usually it's pretty quiet. Usually it's not that dramatic. Usually the horrible stuff has already happened. Now, Deb, from your experience, because I'd like you to talk to this too a little bit, before an exorcist can leave for good, can walk away from the family and know that the family, he's done everything he can for the family, what's the number one thing off the top of your head that you remember that told you everything was going to be okay. We don't need to track down another exorcist. Or your mom, whichever.
That was the final one in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
That happened in Canada when we were in the church there. It started blowing out the stained glass windows.
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. That had
And then all of a sudden the sunlight came through.
Mm-hmm.
And David collapsed,
Yes.
And then, too, he looked around and he goes, Mom, he's gone. And I already knew it. We all knew it.
Wow.
Everybody knew it.
So you could feel it.
The priest. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because, we've had other exorcisms in another church, and all that happened there where the doors were slamming back and forth, the pews, the kneeling benches were slamming up and down, the hymn books were being thrown all over. That was, and that took place in the church. But you knew when it left, when we went and had Romano exorcism in Canada.
Mm-hmm. We just had a question from the chat room because, as we're talking about these cases, people, we are talking about the exiting of an exorcist from a case. And if you check our channel on The Real Deals, we have quite a few interviews with Deb about her case and Shy, and there's a lot of details for the devil in Connecticut. But I want to address this because I don't want people to get the wrong idea about the case that you're talking about. Your brother was very, very young. Was your brother on drugs, Deb?
No.
How old was he? He was what,
He was
11
on
or 12?
It started when he was 11.
Yep.
Because it started in, I guess, the last week of June, beginning the first week of July.
Mm-hmm.
And he was 11, so his birthday was in August 13th. So that's when he turned 12.
Ah.
So it was just a matter of weeks, or a month's time. About a month and a half before he turned 12.
Oh my
And
goodness.
that's another thing. When it comes to children being possessed,
Mm-hmm.
this is according to the priest.
Yes.
Usually it'll attack children that are just entering puberty.
Oh, yes, it's the
Because
truth.
they're the pure ones so far.
Exactly.
So they want the pure and the innocent.
They do. They do. And they want to ruin and destroy any innocence that they can. And that's why the exorcist has to pay attention to all the members of the family. Because there have been cases that your brother may have been released and it attaches to somebody else. And the exorcist is gone and the other person is having symptoms, but nobody's really noticing it because it just seems so peaceful that, and also it can come back years later. So we're gonna get into that in a minute. So
another thing about that, Sarah,
yes,
is that the demons have to say their name, who they are.
Mm-hmm. They're forced to. They're forced to.
Yeah, they're forced to. You're absolutely right.
Because, the priest makes it so uncomfortable, so horrific for that demon. And this is not a lower level demon. This is not one that can be kicked out easily. This is a higher level demon that has to be removed, that has to be commanded by an exorcist. And a lot of people, there's a lot of confusion about that, Deb.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you could explain all that to them. I can only tell you what I've seen and been through.
Well, and that's a great thing that, you can help with the show because your mom wanted you to keep this information out there that this stuff is real. Do not think because you're baptized.
Even on her deathbed, I'm holding her, right?
Yes.
And she goes, she told me that over and over. Don't let our story die. Tell people the truth. They need to know the truth.
Exactly.
This is on her deathbed. I mean, a couple hours, 2-3 hours later, she was dead. But those were her last words.
Oh my gosh. Well, and think about it. It's interesting. when you look at the experiences that people have, such as the cases, because I want to go over 3 specific stages that a family goes through after the exorcist leaves. But before he leaves, there's so much chaos, there's so much fear, there's so much anger, everybody is in a whirlwind. It's almost as if the exorcist is the eye of the hurricane and the family is the hurricane. Just literally don't know what to hold on to, can't see an end to anything.
We're caught up in that hurricane, or you could even call it a tornado.
Well, literally, it could be a tornado or a hurricane, but that's just it. The exorcist literally is the eye of the hurricane that, basically will direct it and stop everything and get it to slow down. And in your case is one of the worst cases ever, absolutely ever. There were so many layers going on, and I kind of want to start with because we are down to our last 15-20 minutes, Deb. I want to start with the 3 stages here of after the exorcist goes. The first stage being shock. The family and the cases I want to refer to besides yours, everybody's in disbelief. Everybody is still looking around the corner, looking over their shoulders, waiting. How did your family handle it initially?
Well, initially, when it all started, my father didn't want to hear it. He said, "You're all crazy, go to bed." And because he had to get up for work because he held 2 jobs.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And so the only one that left for us was Arnie.
Yes.
So he was thrown to the family. Mm-hmm. My father didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to talk about it, and he said to David, "Get to bed," and he's yelling, and it's like the kid can't do anything. He's not even comprehending anything you say to him.
No, poor kid. I know, right?
My father would just go to bed so he wouldn't help us, and then he'd have like 3 hours, 4 hours of sleeping and go back to work again. And when it really got bad, my father talked to the priest.
Yes.
And when I have to skip over, when all this was said and done, my father had to talk to somebody else. And he said, "I know what's going on."
Really?
He goes, "I can't help them." My father said, "I've seen things in my bedroom." So while we were all out in the living room going through all this, my father was actually watching and seeing some of this stuff in the bedroom.
And your dad did not want to ever talk about it?
No.
Ever?
No.
Ever?
No. That's, how people are old school,
Yes.
Oh, God, you can't talk about this stuff. He told this person, I know who he told, and he goes, "I didn't know what to do. I couldn't help them." Mm-hmm. And at that time, my son Jason was 7 years old. So he would see David go through this stuff, but he didn't understand what was going on.
Yes.
So we would, go get in bed with Grandpa, go to bed, so he would.
Aww.
So we tried to, shelter him as much as we could so that he wouldn't see anything that was going on.
And that had to be just so incredibly scary. In the cases I was referring to tonight, Deb, some of these people have had similar reactions from family members, because you've got a family that has literally survived an Auschwitz of sorts, of an attack. Instead of their food being taken from them and them starving to death, their souls are literally being reamed and ripped apart. Their faith, their belief, their understanding of the natural world, as Thomas Aquinas describes, the preternatural world is slammed open to everyone in the family. And whether they're like your father and they decide not to even admit that it exists, It still exists.
And I want to throw this out there. At that time, my father was the only one in the house that wasn't baptized.
Really? Wow. I didn't know that,
Okay.
Deb. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And my father did become baptized Catholic with my son, Jacob, when Jake was born.
That's so wonderful.
So it was a double baptism.
It was a double dunking, shall we say? Double dunk.
Yeah. I'm sorry if you hear Una once in a while barking. That's because I'm sitting outside. So she sits outside with me in the dark.
Is she chasing little friendlies, little things running around?
No, but if she sees a deer, it makes her go crazy. She hates deer.
I bet. Well, who wouldn't like some fresh deer meat right now? Oh, my gosh. I'm hoping Dennis is going to bring me some. But anyway, back to the family. So what we have with family situations is that the exorcist is getting ready to leave. And they're trying to affirm that there's nothing else going on. So the family is still experiencing what soldiers would call PTSD.
Yep.
And there's no therapist that you can go to really and say, hey, can you help me out? I'm dealing with a demon situation that just got over. There's very few people that understand this. So you're still isolated in a sense because there's not a lot of people you can talk to. There's very few resources out there. Exorcist office today are trying to develop more resources, but we still don't have a lot, especially, therapists that we need. So that takes us into the second step of after the exorcist leaves. The suspicion phase is still there. So things that you notice externally, you're still watching for the other shoe to drop at all times.
I'll tell you, this keeps you on your toes. If you've been through this,
right?
you're on your toes 24/7. Look how many years it's been for me.
Oh,
and I'm still on my toes 24/7.
That's because it's still happening. It's still going on, Deb.
It's like, thank God I have her because I'm alone here.
Yes.
Okay, out in the woods.
Yes.
My husband and my sons, because they all work together.
Yes.
The three of them. They go to work together. They come home together. Mm-hmm. They're doing double shifts. Mm-hmm. And sometimes almost double shift and a half because they're involved in this project, and it's going to be like the grand opening tomorrow.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. So you haven't seen him in, months, honey.
I haven't seen him in a month.
Oh, my
gosh. He comes home. So my both boys, they ride with him. They come home just long enough to sleep. I'll do their laundry, and they're,
yes.
It's 2 hours. You got to get up. Let's go. Mm-hmm. And they got to drive an hour to work again.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy, honey. That's crazy. But you know what? You've got Una. You've got the power dog. She's a beast. I'm serious. She's a beast.
I know. I was telling Arnie I think I'm going to get another one.
Oh, good. And have babies. So Auntie Farrah can have one, too.
He goes, why? I said, well, she's big. She's 110 pounds. Mm-hmm. But I told my husband I want to get a male.
Yes.
But I'm going to get her spayed first. And I'll get the male neutered. Because males grow bigger.
Oh, goodness. Didn't know that. Mm-hmm. Wow.
I said, I need one at each end of my porch.
Oh, how beautiful. And they're alive, too. They're not stone statues.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to our top three here so we can finish up our point of the show here and wrap it up. The three stages I wanted to point out to people, this one never ends. The third stage is the continued fight. Because after the exorcist leaves, you're in shock. You go through periods of PTSD, like a death. And then the third stage, which is, can be the best or the worst, is the continued healing and the continued fight. So many people that I know that have had deliverance think everything's going to be all right, and they go back to what they're doing, and it comes back 1,000% worse.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few people that stick with their prayer, that stick with their faith, and keep it out. And I think that's the saddest thing, is that people don't realize how serious this is. Because even, Deb, as you know, even when you successfully fight it off, even when you successfully keep it off, it's never totally gone. Never.
No.
Never.
You're absolutely right.
Never.
And the priest told us this, too.
Mm-hmm.
He said, never let your guard down.
Yep.
Because if you let your guard down, things can come back.
Well,
and of course they would want to come back because we've already been touched.
Yep.
So they would think we're easy prey. And the ones that let their guards down, that's the one that they come and afflict.
Exactly. And as we were talking about weak links in the family, those weak links have already been noted by the demons that are watching, that aren't even participating. People have this idea that an exorcism, and some exorcists will tell you that the demons that are allowed to harass the family, are bound by the exorcist that will be removing them. Yes, that accounts for that tribe, those demons. The demons that are on the sidelines, though, that may be attached to other occult objects and other incidents that may be attached to the home or the family, they're in not necessarily a neutral place, but they're still there. So any invitation lets them in, and I don't think people understand that this is a lifelong, I don't want to say
journey.
Sentence. Yeah, journey. There we go. I was going to say sentence.
No, seriously.
It's a journey.
Because we were told, too, also, you don't even read your horoscope.
No.
Stay away from horoscopes.
Yes.
Anything to know the future.
Yep.
Anything that has to do with knowing the future.
And did they tell you why to do that?
That's opening the doors.
Yep.
Again.
So the exorcist, before they walk out the door, they warn you of all the potential invitations.
And so even though my boys weren't born at the time that this was going on, Jake and Jeremy, they weren't even around, but once they found out, of course they found out who we were and stuff through the internet.
Yes.
So, yeah, we let them read the book, and we explained everything to them, and so we had to go and tell them, you can't do this, you can't do that, don't get tarot cards read, and, just like what I just explained.
Well, and I think...
Because,
go ahead.
Warning,
Mm-hmm.
I them go and open the doors, but, if they do something stupid behind my back,
Yes. What can you do? There's not a lot you can do, and that's
right.
I want everybody to know that the dynamics of the family involved in the exorcism, this has a ripple effect, and this ripple effect will follow not just the family but their children.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And this, it's almost as if you have to start saying breaking curses prayers as soon as the exorcism is over. And I think I heard recently that Father Ripperger had a great program for people that he put together for, them getting out of, once they've had the deliverance. And I'm sure it has everything to do with staying on your toes, receiving the sacraments, making sure that your prayers seal you in the morning, seal you in at night, keep your home blessed. Keep your family blessed. Whoever is the head of the household needs to be blessing the other members on a regular basis. After the exorcist goes, Deb, what would you think would be the number one thing that the family needs to be aware of and needs to do? After the exorcist left, what was it? Was it going to the Eucharist?
Oh, definitely. Having the Eucharist and continuing the Rosary. See, before this ever happened to my family, we didn't practice the rosary.
Really?
We didn't say the rosary.
Mm-hmm.
We learned how to do it in a hurry.
Mm.
And we continue to do it today.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
And when we did it, all of us, my mother had this oval kitchen table. We would kneel on the kitchen floor, kneel at the table with our rosaries in our hands, all of us.
Oh, how sweet,
And
Deb.
we would say the rosary every night.
I got to
So,
thank
and this is what
AJ. AJ donated
my
to the
children.
show. I just got to thank him real quick. Thank you, AJ, so much. Thank you for your support. Anybody else, if you'd like to support, the PayPal is on there. PayPal me/The Real Deals. Or we have Patreon. Thank you so very much. Go ahead, Deb. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I was just saying that how we all, continue to do the rosaries.
Well,
And that's become a way of my life now.
yes.
And it only takes, people don't realize it only takes 15 minutes to do the rosary. I'm sure that people can give up 15 minutes of their time in their life every day
Exactly.
for our Heavenly Mother and Father.
I know. How
That's
difficult
the
is that?
least thing to do. And then after you do it, it makes you feel good inside.
I agree,
Literally.
sweetie. And
I'm
I
not
don't.
trying to preach here, but I'm just telling you what I do and what we've done.
Well, and we're talking about what happens when the exorcist, when they leave, and this is one of the things. It doesn't
when
matter.
they first leave, when they were at the house, when they first left,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
we felt that it didn't leave.
Exactly. Exactly.
We knew, but we felt it in our soul. You could feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I go, it's still here. It's still here. And that's why we had to keep calling them back. Because it didn't feel, even though everything was done,
Yeah.
we knew it didn't leave because the hair on the back of our neck would still stand up.
Oh yeah.
And, things would start to happen, and I would start to think, oh, it didn't work, it's like, oh my God, And then it makes you think, does God hear us? Is He hearing our prayer? But then after everything we've been through,
Yep.
this was an awakening, a wake-up call.
Big
And it
time.
was a wake-up call from God. We were meant to go through this to teach us a lesson.
Oh, I agree. It draws you so much closer to God. And the whole
Yes,
family
Doris,
as well.
that's the right book, The Devil in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. And I think that you mentioned something really important. The peace in the household. After the exorcist goes, there's going to be peace. I mean, it's going to still feel, like you said, you're going to have those no more human reactions. The people that I was talking about in the cases, they, spent still many sleepless nights listening for sounds. They were trained.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You have another thank you to do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Thank you. Let's not miss this. Thank you. That was AJ. AJ Manol. Thank you so much. Oh, my goodness. And who else? Santo Miguel. Oh, Santo, you are so wonderful. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. I can't thank you enough. Every little bit helps. And as you were saying, I cannot stress enough, we've actually been involved in deliverance where I can tell you this for a fact, 4 years later, people that aren't Catholic and Protestant are still praying the rosary and still keeping the demons off, kids, okay? The rosary.
Exactly. You don't have to be Catholic
You
to
don't.
say the rosary.
You don't.
The rosary is for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
For
Exactly.
everyone. You don't have to be Catholic to
No.
say it.
No. And this is the number one weapon.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. So after the exorcist goes, we want you to remember that the battle has been won. But the battle is ongoing here as long as we are alive. And if you have a marker on your home, on your family, from generational curses, from continued oppressions and possessions, this is not something that you're going to get free of with a bath. It's just not going to happen. Yes, you've been completely delivered. Yes, in God's divine time, you're going to be completely at peace as long as you continue to stay in the sacraments and basically take care of your prayer life. We also have people...
Exactly. That's what keeps it away.
We have people, Deb, that have not done that and have... Oh, gosh, I'm just going to call her... we'll just call her Lady X. This is how Satan works, kids. After the exorcist is gone, and you think that, okay, my child has had a successful deliverance, they're gone, everything's fine, and you let up on your prayer life. You return to a little bit of prayer life. Somebody in your family dies. It could be your husband, it could be another child. And your world is rocked so terribly, you abandon your faith, and you embrace sin. And nobody even sees the possession that is occurring inside of you because you embraced it so thoroughly. This is really dangerous stuff. This is very, very dangerous. And it's not it's not something that, Deb, you and I laugh a lot, and there's so many people that I get comments that tell me, "Oh, this is not funny. This is not funny." The subject matter isn't funny, but I have to laugh at the desperation of demons, especially when people are so willing to fight so hard to keep their sanity, to keep their families, and to continue to pray the rosary.
They'll try anything to get to you.
Yes.
Like
Exactly.
you said, whether it's death in the family, it could be a car accident. Sometimes car accidents just aren't accidents.
No.
Sometimes demons cause those accidents.
That's what people don't... Exactly. And this is something, we don't really talk about very often, but in cases of exorcism, that demon from that principality still has minions and cockroaches that are going to be watching your family, that are going to basically be affecting the neighbors. They're going to look for ways to affect anybody you know, anybody you love, anybody in your circle, to come and disturb your peace and steal it any way they can.
All the upheaval they can cause.
Mm-hmm. And I think that when you're looking to specifically think, well, it's a demon, or, oh, it's outside of... People don't see how easily other people are puppeted or allow themselves to, and it's not that they're evil. I know so many wonderful people that go to church, that are in the sacraments, etc., that all of a sudden they'll say something really just absolutely off topic, and they don't even realize how awful they came off, or they sounded, or cruel. But this is the power of suggestion by demons. This stuff will set people off. So
Absolutely.
The fight can never stop. You can never let your guard down, like Deb said. No one can. No one. And it doesn't matter if it's mild depression, if it's minor, if it's major. Remember this, the battle has been won. We have the tools that you need within the church to fight this stuff. Exorcised water, exorcised salt. You need to bless yourself. There's many, many prayers. If you need any specific prayers for breaking curses prayers, or prayers for help with any kind of haunting, go to swordsofstmichael.org and look on our prayers. There's lots of prayers. If you need books, if you need haunted help, you can find those on my Etsy page at prayersbythebead.com. And Deb and I, we're going to keep it up. We're going to keep up the real deal. We're going to keep going on, and we're going to keep telling the truth as long as we can. Yeah, I know, as long as we can. That's right. And I like how AJ says, be of sober mind. And
Yeah.
of course, Tony C., my Solomon, is like, yes, examination of conscience. Oh, thank you so much. Now, if I try and pronounce her name, I'm going to mash it all to blazes. It's S. Gravois, because I know it's very French. It's French-Canadian, right? Gravois. It's kind of like a foie.
Gravois.
It's like a foie gras, but it's a gravois. I hope I did that right, and I hope I didn't mutilate your name too bad. Oh,
Well, thank you
goodness.
anyway.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. So, any final notes or anything for anybody, Deb? We're at the end point. We're at end game. We're at the top of our show here.
Top of the hour, guys.
Yes. Any
I
notes?
hope everyone enjoyed the show.
Yes, I hope. Thank you so much for the support, and thank you for all the likes, kids, because we need all the likes. Share the video if we can. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you so very much. Nikki just sent us a donation too. You know, we do this because we don't have a choice. Because as long as darkness exists, I'm going to burn it out. I'm going to burn it out, kids.
Nikki, if you've read the book, I would suggest that people do not read the book at nighttime.
Yes.
Only read it during the daytime in God's light.
And that brings a very good point. Anytime that you are entering into a different spiritual realm of knowledge, I would suggest you contact your confessor, your pastor, your spiritual director, and say, look, I'm picking up this book and I'd like to know more about it. That way your pastor or your confessor can pray for you and with you. And like she said, don't read this stuff at night. Because once you put something in your imagination, the demons can use whatever's in there and they will use it against you. Guarantee
That's right, and they'll bring it to your dreams as well.
Yes, they will. You will not.
Especially when you're in that sleep state that you're on another plane.
You will not have a
It's
good
easy
night's sleep at
to
all.
come into your mind.
Exactly. Okay, well, I guess that's about it for us, Deb. It's about time to play the rock and roll show tune at the end of the night.
I want to say good night and God bless.
Good night and God bless. Oh, boy. Virgo Potents, pray for us, kids. Battle's been won, and we're here to help you fight the fight and win it right. Thank you again. Stay tuned for another show next week. Who knows what's going to be? But hey, leave your comments below. If you've had any experiences, you have any ideas for shows, post them in the comments. I want to read them, please. Good night. Night, Deb. Love you, Deb.
Good night. Love you too, sis.
The Real Deals TV show, copyright 2018, a Swords of St. Michael production. Any unauthorized duplication or rebroadcast or retransmission of this broadcast without the express written permission of the Swords of the Saint Network or that of...
Oops. Good night. Good night.
The Real Deals TV show, copyright 2018, a Swords of St. Michael production. Any unauthorized duplication or rebroadcast or retransmission of this broadcast without the express